Thank you for tuning in to the Real Sisters ATL. I'm Allison.
I am Christina.
And yes, we are
Real Sisters.
All right, y'all. We are back with another amazing episode.
Yes.
As you can tell, we are dressed for the occasion.
We are.
We absolutely could not wait to dive into this episode.
And if you notice, we have our girl Jazzy with us. She's
Our guest
co-hosted.
Yes. You never know when she's going to pop up, so you all stay tuned.
Yes,
she's
she is
always dressed for the occasion, just as we are.
Yes. So let's dive into today's episode. We have a really good one.
We got a good one.
We do.
We got a good one. This is a movie we have been wanting to do for a while.
Yes.
And the time has finally come.
It has.
It is a black horror classic.
Mm-hmm.
And as y'all see, we're repping our set, which is the Real Sisters ATL. But this film that we're going to be reviewing is also a hood classic.
Ooh.
So y'all peep the bandana.
Yes.
So, this movie boasts a star-studded cast.
It really
I
did.
mean, Clarence Williams III,
David Allen Greer.
Paula J. Parker.
Yeah, just to name a few.
Oh my goodness, DeAndre Bonds. The list goes on and on. Hence our excitement to dive through this film. But before we name it, you probably already know what it is. But before we name it, we want you to click below to like, subscribe, tag, share. Let everyone you know to join us.
Please.
As we continue to bring you great horror classics, new and old. Absolutely. And we have so much more coming your way.
We do.
You do not want to miss it.
You do not.
So without further ado,
Tales from the Hood!
Oh my gosh, Tales from the Hood.
Oh, I want to first say, when I first saw this movie, I know I was a kid and I was just blown away, but still just so intrigued and excited.
Right. I mean, it is a household name in the world of horror. It's like, you remember the VHS,
yes,
the DVD era. If you didn't have Tales from the Hood, like, what were you doing?
Come on, that's just not like not having Chucky or something. Like, come on,
it's definitely one of those staples in the world of horror. So I know this movie is so incredible that we're going to break it down into two parts.
Yes.
So for all of those who have seen the film, you know it's broken down into tales or 4 different stories, but we're going to break it down into scenes. So we'll be covering a scene for this episode, and you'll have to stay tuned for our next episode. We might be covering a scene or scenes.
Yes.
So diving into the beginning of the film, oh my gosh, it was like these 3 guys, they were homeboys, presumably gangsters, where they made their way to this funeral home, presumably to meet with a mortician. I'm not sure how he lured him there, but they were there to get drugs or get the stuff.
Yes, get the stuff. Whatever you call it, to get that.
Whatever y'all want to call it. So they get there and they're met by Clarence Williams III, who is the mortician, and he has like this wild hair, this very creepy, eerie kind of morbid personality, but honestly it was so funny.
It was.
Oh my gosh, I could not help myself but to laugh at just like his quirks and his personality, his demeanor throughout this movie. So they're like, all right, where is the stuff?
And they're all serious, like, okay, come on.
And he's like, well, I'm gonna get you the stuff, but not before I tell you a story. So he moves through the funeral home and he comes up on this casket with Clarence in it. Yeah. So he tells the homeboys a story about Clarence and how Clarence got there to the funeral home. So Clarence is a police officer and he's on the force. He has he's a black man. Yeah. He is on the force. He has 3 white colleagues, white partners, and he's working the shift. They pull up at this cemetery where 2 other police officers had this activist pulled over, Martin Morehouse. Yeah. And he was a very vocal activist with an aversion to bad cops.
Yeah, he did not like bad cops.
Yeah, coincidentally, they had him pulled over in the darkness and stillness of the cemetery.
Yes, out of all places.
Alone. And so, they're questioning him, they're antagonizing him. They ultimately end up assaulting him. And so the Clarence is like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
What's the issue? Doesn't seem to have done anything wrong. He clearly recognized the man as Martin Morehouse, and so
he goes back to the car and runs his name.
Right,
yeah,
right. So,
or the plate, shall I say?
Right. So the police officer's like, "Oh, just go back to the car. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it." And
you know what that means.
He goes back to the car, and the activist, he's putting up a fight. He's like, I haven't done anything wrong, and so they continue to poke at him, and so he fights back. And they end up assaulting the man to death. Right?
Yeah, it was like, he's there is just saying, okay, you know what? I don't want any bad cops on the street. But they, in essence, were the bad cops that he was referring to.
Right. So obviously they're offended by that. So they go on to assault the man. Clarence is like, wait, what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh, we're going to take him to the hospital.
Mm-hmm. And Clarence was upset because he felt like, I know this is not the case. So he actually got into like a small fight with the other cop.
With his own partner. Yeah. And his partner is like, oh, they're going to take care of it. And the other two officers, they took him down to the lake or some kind of waterway. And they inject him with the drugs.
Because they're like, okay, you know what? If you think we're the bad cops, let me show you.
Right.
So they inject him with the drugs. Then they put alcohol in his lap.
Right. Yeah. And more drugs in the trunk, So, they put the car into neutral. His car rides off into the lake. And
so we fast forward. Clarence he's drinking heavily. He cannot take the fact that he felt like he was in a position to help the activists to stay alive, but he didn't. And for a number of reasons. He was scared. He was considered
the retaliation.
Yeah, he's new.
Yeah.
They consider him the rookie. He's a black man, and you have your white colleagues, and in his mind, well, if they go down, I go down.
Right. So just imagine the fear. So y'all chime in below and let us know what you would have done if you were placed in this situation, or how you would have handled it or reacted.
Yeah. So it gets to the point where he hears the spirit from
Martin Morehouse.
Yeah. So he hears the spirit from Martin Morehouse, and the spirit is telling him, bring them to me.
Bring them to me.
So I was nervous during that scene.
I was terrified.
Yeah, because I just didn't know what to expect.
Listen, y'all comment below terrified if you made it this far in the video, because I was so creeped out. This part, I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely coming for revenge.
He was, and it happened just that way.
Right. So Clarence lures the police officers to the cemetery on the 1-year anniversary of Martin Morehouse's death.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I'm going to follow through on the orders that I was given to bring y'all here. And so they're like, all right, what did you bring us out here for? And he's like, to celebrate.
And at this point, Clarence and the officers are walking towards Morehouse grave. And during that time, they're all like, okay, what's going on? What are we going to do next?
Yeah.
Like, why
so we're standing here. What's up?
Yeah. So then you have the officer, or the head officer.
Strong.
Yeah.
Strong. He was the ringleader. I was not feeling his energy, personality the entire film.
Me neither at all. I was ready to jump through that TV and knock him out myself. So he says, you know what? I'm going to urinate on his grave. I'm like, come on.
As if you couldn't degrade the dead even more. You're going to pee on his grave?
And not only that, he tells his colleague, oh, well, you need to come and urinate on the grave as well. So the colleague is like, I'm good.
You're going down with me.
Yeah.
And he's like, he didn't even want to do it, but it's like that pressure to follow through. So you can tell who was really in charge amongst those three. and he urges that officer to come and pee on the man's grave, and out of nowhere, Martin Morehouse's arm comes out of that grave and snatches that officer and takes him under. Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Y'all chime in. Let us know what you thought when he started banging his head against that tombstone and snatched him under. Oh my goodness.
And then after that, when you look back at the casket, the officer is in there and Morehouse is standing outside of the casket.
Talk about trading places. Snatched the officer's heart out while it was still beating.
And then,
I mean, the terror.
I was terrified and I wasn't even there. So you can imagine how the other officers were feeling. And Clarence is still standing there like, okay.
And it's like, who can you run and tell?
I mean, who can, yeah.
It's like, what do you do? And they all even ask that. It's like, what are we going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Who are we going to tell?
Because they were having that conversation. And then I remember, he's like,
well, the man we killed a year ago has come back to haunt us or terrorize us.
And then it just takes a crazy turn where you have
0 to 60.
Yes, they jump in the car and the whole
time. Martin Morehouse has, affixed himself to the back of the car. He is hanging on for dear life. He is not letting them get away. Each of them meet their fates. I think he snatched the head off of one of the officers. One of the other ones, he shot the same needles into him, almost like the perfect display of revenge.
Yes.
The same way that they injected him with drugs and, sent him to his demise. And the man like melts into this painting, almost where Martin Morehouse was, and he's like, "Welcome to my world." Ooh. Now it's time to play. So,
and even after that, Clarence, he met face to face with Morehouse, and Morehouse was like, "You could have helped me."
Yeah.
It was still bittersweet for him because he thought in one instance like, okay, I
did what you asked me to do.
But then Morehouse was like, you had the opportunity and you didn't take it.
Right.
So that scene.
Yeah, so he ended up in like the an asylum. Mm-hmm. And I believe they even pinned the murders of the other officers on him. Mm-hmm. So it just goes to show you just the downward spiral that certain scenarios can take.
It was no hope.
Yeah, it was a very unfortunate ending, but definitely a story that needed to be told. So y'all chime in and let us know what scene from that story y'all connected with the most or stood out the most to you.
What brought like that immediate reaction of like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen next?
Right.
Chime in below and let us know. And please, you do not want to miss part 2.
Yes, we are coming back with more stories from Tales in the Hood, part 2. So stay tuned. You do not want to miss it. And before we go, please do not forget to like, subscribe, tag, share, let everyone you know. Chime in. Next week, we're coming with part 2. We cannot wait to bring this and many more horror classics your way. And we thank you for tuning in to the Real Sisters ATL. And yes, we are
Real Sisters.